Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com, and it's a special show today as we're going to be covering the NCAA Tournament. The draw came out last night. The brackets are out, and we're going to go region by region, and each one of us is assigned to a region. We're going to give you our pick to go to the Final Four out of that region. We're going to give you a sleeper pick in case our pick doesn't come in. Is there any other long shot per se that you like to get to the Final Four? And we're also each going to give you an upset, a first round upset prediction in each of the regions we're assigned to. Without further ado, I have three of the greatest handicappers in the country right now, and we're privileged to have them. And I know I'm lucky to have them. And Jesse Shule of jesseshule.com, Sean Higgs of picksandparlays.net, and Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Yeah, right there, as you can see it. So in any event, let's get right to it because unfortunately on the Zoom meetings that we have, we only have 40 minutes. So we're going to do the best we can to squeeze as much information in to help you during the NCAA tournament during this 40 minutes. All right, let's start with Doug in the West. Doug, take it away, my friend.
Okay, the West. Well, we got Kansas, who's the number one seed. Everybody knows that. It's the whole thing's a little. Let's just say it's a little up in the air. It seems. I don't think everybody's sold on Kansas. Some people are surprised they didn't get the number one seed. But from my standpoint, the team I like to get there, it is the one that I mentioned to you the other day in passing, Ross, when we did the video, is that I like Gonzaga, okay, to win the region. The reason that I do, I like how their guard play has gotten dramatically better in the last month of the season. That's been the big thing. And they've improved not only offensively, but also defensively as well. I look at the other teams in this division, or in this region, rather. Like I said, Kansas, they got whipped twice by Texas. Okay. Not saying Texas isn't a good team, but Texas is very good. They got whipped twice. They got some injury issues. We know UCLA has some injury issues, might be without one or possibly two starters. And though, Connecticut, they're legit. Okay. Talent wise, I'm just not sure if they'll always play together. So from that standpoint, I'm going to go with Gonzaga. My sleeper, now I just said something negative about them, but my sleeper pick is going to be Connecticut. They're the 4 seed coming in. I don't know if a 4 seed's a sleeper pick or not, but they have a nice mix of inside, outside, okay, in terms of their offense, and their defense can create trouble, especially they're excellent in guarding the 3-point. I think they give up a little over 30% in terms of that, in terms of guarding the threes. When they started 14-0, they played together, okay? When they lost that, they lost 10 of their next 15 games, and they finally started listening to Danny Hurley, their coach, and they won 6 in a row. And quite honestly, either they should have beaten I think they should have beaten Marquette, in the Big East, but they didn't. Okay, so my sleeper pick is Connecticut. My upset, probably one of the most popular upsets that's going to be out there, is taking number 12 VCU over St. Mary's. Rams have improved dramatically as the season's gone along. They've had excellent guard play. St. Mary's struggled a little down the stretch. Now, granted, they played some of those games against Gonzaga, but the thing I noticed in the West Coast tournament, their top freshman, Aiden Mahaney, who made virtually every big shot they needed all season long, he struggled in the entire West Coast tournament. I think he only had one game where he had double digits. He looked to be both mentally and physically wore out. Now, maybe, that won't be an issue, okay, for him with several days off. But with this game, I think the Rams defense can rattle him. The other thing, too, now this is not a big deal, but it's of note, that game is 2 o'clock Eastern time. That means it's 11 o'clock St. Mary's time. We hear about that in football, but I think this can also play a part in it. Finally, the last thing, VCU, when they are seeded 9-12, 12-2 against the spread, when they're those seeds, I'm going to say VCU over St. Mary's for my 3 picks.
VCU, number 12 seed, and those of you who have followed the tournament over the years know the success the 12 seed has had against the 5. And Doug, brilliant minds think alike, with the exception of I disagree with you as when we did our show on our picks for the NCAA tournament last week. I like Kansas as one of my 3 picks to win the tournament. So I'm going to stick with them as my West pick. And my sleeper was UConn, and my upset pick was VCU over St. Mary's. So I agree with you. I mean, vast difference to me between St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Gonzaga played a brutal non-conference schedule. St. Mary's not so much, and the better team down the stretch in that conference was unequivocally Gonzaga. I know one guy that doesn't get affected by the time difference when it comes to performance, and that's Mr. Jesse Shule in Thailand, where I don't know what time it is. There's no daylight savings time. He's always bringing us up to speed on what time it is in Thailand. Jesse, take it away, my friend.
All right. Well, I like Doug's pick on Gonzaga. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I placed a bet on Gonzaga at 4-1 odds to win the West Coast Conference in the regular season. And it ended up coming down to that NET rating, which I still haven't got quite figured out how St. Mary's had a better ranking than Gonzaga. But, I still think it was worth a shot in the dark. I mean, at the end of the year, as much as it looked like a down year for Gonzaga, they really turned it on at the end of the year, and they really looked almost as good as they ever really look in their final 4 or 5 games. But I guess you want me to get right into my picks for the East region to win the region. I mean, Purdue is the favorite at 3-1. You got Marquette, you got Tennessee. I don't really like the way Purdue played at the end of the year. We've talked about Tennessee. They struggle to score at times. Marquette, a monster at home. Sometimes they're not as good on the road and here at neutral site games. I'm not quite convinced by Marquette. So I'm going to go with the Big 12 team, and I'm going to take K-State. We all know that the Big 12 was the strongest conference in the country this year. K-State 23-9 overall, 11-7 in the Big 12. They got wins over Kansas, TCU, Baylor, West Virginia, Texas. This is a strong team, and I think if you shop around, you should be able to get them at 10-1 to win the East region. My sleeper is going to be Memphis, which is going to be a popular sleeper pick this year. A lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, Memphis just beat Houston in the American Conference title game. And that's true. And some detractors will say, well, Houston didn't have their leading scorer. I would point to a game a week earlier when these two teams played, Houston and Memphis. It was a tie game with 1 second left on the clock. And Houston hit a buzzer beater to win that game by 2 points. So even with the leading scorer healthy and Houston at the top of their game, this Memphis team can play. They've proven they can play with the best teams in the country. Their non-conference schedule has wins over Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Auburn, and VCU. And then my upset pick, we like the 12 seeds. I'm going to go with Charleston over who are they playing again? Anybody got that for me?
Yeah,
San Diego State. Yeah. I mean, a 31-3 team, only lost 3 games all year. Again, they did have some solid non-conference wins: Virginia Tech, Kent State, Davidson, and Richmond. And San Diego State, I don't really have anything negative to say about them. I think they're a great team, but they're just running into another good team, and anything can happen. So I like Charleston as my upset pick.
There you go. I can't, again, you brilliant minds think alike, because I got Kansas State as a sleeper. Jesse has them as winning the region. I also like your other pick there on what was your sleeper pick again, Jesse?
Memphis. Probably everybody's sleeper pick.
I had a sleeper of K-State as the K-State to win the region. I don't have a sleeper pick in this region, but again, Higgsy, what do you got to say in terms of what you heard from Doug, what you heard from Jesse, and what you think yourself in terms of the region you're covering, which is the South?
So I think Kansas is going to come out like they'll win one for the Gipper. I think they have an easy little draw there who they have up top. Agree with everybody on the way Gonzaga's playing and UCLA being banged up. If they're healthy, I'd say, okay, UCLA. UConn, again, that's a team we saw them play really good, but I think that's been the essence of college basketball this year. We see teams have great stretches, and all of a sudden they have few clunkers in a row, I'll be like, well, they're not for real anymore. They're not for real. So there, I'm with Gonzaga and Kansas, I think, out of there. And the sleeper pick, I'm shocked coming out of the East there. I think that's the worst conference, or the weakest, however you want to put it.
It is. I agree.
Purdue, Memphis is a team. Yeah, you win your conference tournament. You're one of 5 teams that are coming on win streaks from like a power school. Like you're going to have a bunch of wins on your belt, feeling good about yourself. So Purdue's not one. We've seen them hit the wall sometimes. I'm shocked. No, Duke wasn't mentioned. I mean, can you give that team? And I got I got the points of that, and somehow I think that 7 Duke's going to win by 15. You'll be like, wow, I forgot how good Duke's going to be. That being said, Kentucky's another team out there. No one's kind of given a look at. Everybody's, I don't know. I think Kentucky could be the representative out of there. I don't know. Well, anyway, that's just my thought. It's March Madness, right? We got a little that one looks like wide open to me because you have Memphis, you have Purdue, who looked really good and early. Remember, they beat all these teams. Kentucky with Calipari is great in postseason. K-State, as I mentioned, probably the best conference, best team out of there, right? Coming mantra through. You got Marquette. I mean, it's just one after another. So who knows? That's a tough one to me. My bracket, though, here we go. So we'll start with my Final Four pick. I hate go chalk here because I'll tell you why in a second, why we're going to Bama here. Just they've been really good. As much as they've been left on the side of the road with everything going on, they kind of proven all year what kind of team they are. I mean, I am worried because it's the other team I kind of like here. You got 2 teams. I think this is a tough one with Baylor and Arizona in the bracket because we've seen them lose to Gonzaga and UConn, Tennessee. They lose, but where's that huge win? Houston's their best win, but I'm still going to go Alabama. They just, you saw they played on Southside. They're just a great team all around. I think the outside, though, everything going on, that's my leeriness to get them here. And I really don't want to take them at plus 160, but sleeper side of things. Now this is where I'll go out here. So I like Baylor here. I have a Baylor future at a 1,200 clip to win. They are 650 to win this division. They are kind of a Heckle Jekyll squad because part of me wants to take Santa Barbara in the first round over them getting double digits because, they could lay eggs like they just did against Iowa State in back-to-back games where they could, wrap up a better seed and no, they lose by 10 at home and then they come out and proceed to lose again to the team back-to-back. But talent-wise, I think they're very good. So at a plus 650 to come out, I had to think them as a solid sleeper. Again, you're at a good conference. You play a bunch of solid teams. You're in a battle every day against somebody who's a top 20, 25 kind of team there. And my first round upset here, there's a couple to choose from. We had the, we could go cheesy 8-9 game, but I'm gonna pull out a. This was again a kind of toss-up kind of game. I'm gonna say Furman. We have Utah State here over Missouri as a team. People are gonna like Utah State, and I kind of like them. I do. Santa Barbara, I said with the points, but I'm gonna go Furman as I'm just down on the ACC. Right? I mean, this team, Virginia always has trouble kind of scoring, even when they're a good scoring team. They're scoring 65 a game. And you got a little money earned in Furman. These guys kind of cover. This is a scrappy little bunch that kind of makes noise in the tournament. They score, they play defense, shoot threes, do all the little things that small. This isn't even a mid-major. This is a small school has to do to be competitive. And the line is pretty short too here. So, and it's gone down as well. So sign me up with the money earned in Furman as our upset cash money line play here in the South.
Can't disagree with that. I got to go back to Jesse's region in the East. And I had a little trouble reading my own writing. What else is new? But
you're not alone.
My sleeper pick. I took Oral Roberts as a first round. As an upset pick. I took Oral Roberts. Look at don't go to sleep on Oral Roberts. 30-4 on the year, 27-1 in their last 28. 3 of their 4 losses came to number 19 St. Mary's, number 2 Houston, and and actually Utah State, who was ranked for a time and also got to the final in their conference. And, and I'm going to go out on a limb, Doug, because you've heard me say this time and time again. I've said it on shows with you. I wasn't crazy about Tennessee. I thought they were an upset waiting to happen. But as Sean pointed out, the East is wide open. Purdue does not knock my socks off. Tennessee's a real difficult team to play against. They have their shortcomings offensively, but one thing they could do and can carry you in tournament play is strong defense. So I'm going to go out on a limb and take Tennessee in the East. Doug, you heard a lot. Okay, you gave your analysis. You heard the South and the East. Any comments you want to partake in terms of what you heard so far?
Yes, well, from the standpoint, what was mentioned, nothing much about Duke. Okay, and as I said again the other day with Duke, I said if they win the championship, I said they will be one of the teams I'll be picking to reach the Final Four. And I have not changed my mind. The bet has already been placed for a small bet to win. And I'm just waiting for the odds to come out to see what their odds are going to be to reach the Final Four. I think this team is as good as any team in the country right now in terms of how they're playing. And part of my reason, for those that watched the video the other day, I'm going to reiterate the same points. They have great guard play. They have tremendous size, which can help them both get baskets with, for example, Filipkowski in the paint. And they have defenders like Lively, okay, that can stop the opposing team. So they've come together. So I really like that. In terms of the other, both Sean and Jesse's upset picks, 100% agree. Okay, with those, I think they're spot on. I think the reasons that they gave, and to further Sean's point, the Virginia is playing themselves. Because basically that's what Furman is that they don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. So when you have to play a team like that team's getting points. Yes, they might be smaller, but you know what? In a tournament game when the pressure's on, we've seen Virginia fold before. Okay, I think that can happen again.
There you go. Doug Upstone. He did pick, your pick that you were just referring to, Doug, Duke. That was one of your picks, the three picks to win it all, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. Right on Thursday's show. That is correct. Yes.
And I tend to agree with you. If they get by Oral Roberts, again, I think that's a danger spot right there. I think if Duke gets by that first round game, they're going to get better as the tournament moves on.
Yeah.
That Oral Roberts team scares me. That's a team that got to the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So it's not like they're afraid to go against the big boys. Let me get to my region, and then what we'll do is we'll go to each individual handicapper to review each one of their picks. So I know you've been overwhelmed with a lot of information we're giving you, but again, folks, we're hoping that you're a better handicapper today than you were tomorrow by listening to what we have to say. All right, I got the Midwest region. Houston's the number one seed. My big concern with Houston right now, even though they were one of the three picks to go all the way for me when I did the show with Doug last week, Marcus Sasser going down in the conference semifinal. Sasser is a senior guard, and senior guards are very, very important at this time of year. He's a guy who averages 17.1 points per game. He's got a groin injury. He's listed as questionable going into round one. I can't believe that they would risk further injury to him against a number 16 seed. But I do like Texas here. I mean, I think Texas is an outstanding team. 28-6 on the year, played in the best conference in America. They won the Big 12 tournament. And here's what really strikes me. I mentioned defense with Tennessee and how that can carry you because defense doesn't go into slumps. If defense don't go into shooting slumps, if you play good defense all year long, chances are you're going to continue to do so as the tournament progresses. And this is a Texas team, and the 3 wins in conference tournament play, they held those opponents to 54 points per game and 35% shooting. Boy, oh boy, talk about being tournament ready. I think they're primed and ready to go here. So I'm going to take Texas to win the Midwest region. As far as an upset alert, I like Kent State, 28-6 team playing Indiana. Look at their non-conference resume, guys. I mean, they lose to number 9 Gonzaga on the road by 7. They lose at number 2 Houston by 5. They played the Colonial Conference Tournament champion Charleston, who Jesse likes as one of his upset picks. 28-3 Charleston. They go on the road and only lose that game by 2, and then they beat the Horizon League champion Northern Kentucky on the road by 22. So this is a team that has played against the big boys, has competed well against the big boys. In Indiana, they could look like one of the best teams in the country some nights and very mediocre on others. And again, some of these teams if they get by the first round game, if Indiana gets by their first round game here in this situation, I'll take them a little more seriously, but I'm going to go against them. I'm going to call for an outright upset here in that contest. And then my sleeper pick is going to be the Miami Hurricanes, the number 5 Miami Hurricanes, who won the ACC regular season title. They lost to a red hot Duke team in the ACC semifinals. A potential Sweet 16 matchup against Houston. I like their chances in that game if indeed that matchup transpires. So those are my 3 picks. We are going to go to first of all, any comments on my picks or the region in itself? Let's start with you, Doug.
I agree with you on Texas. I think Houston's vulnerable. I know they get so much off of their missed shots, okay, in retrieving them and get the ball back up. But if Sasser is in any way compromised, okay, I think that really impacts their total package. I haven't been hot on Texas. That they've lost some games that just they shouldn't have lost at different points of the season. But playing in that conference, I get that's going to be part of the drill. But as you said, to beat Kansas by double digits twice, okay, I think that's very impressive. This Rodney Terry, seems to be a very good coach. It wasn't like he wasn't experienced before. So I like what they bring to the table. And I agree with your upset pick as well.
There you go. How about you, Higgsy?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Houston and Texas. The upset pick, I like Kent State. You mentioned you ran off who they beat. I mean, I know it's Indiana, but look at the short little line there too as well. That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
And teams, as we've said, like you have losses. Doug mentioned Texas. All these teams that are championship type teams, like, oh, these guys all have a shot. They all have some losses where you scratch your head like, what the heck happened here? They all put together like a 4 or 5 game stretch. You're like, oh, they don't look too good, But here comes Texas riding that championship wave in here. And the Drake line, I like Drake just because why is that line so short off of a Miami team that's been, are they really over adjusting that much? Like, forget. I know it's like people are like, oh, it's a 5-12, 12s win. I see the line. I'm like, I have to take Drake. They're begging you to take Miami there at that number. Yeah. Like some of the line, that's the way I look at it. I look at the team. I look at the number. I'm like, that's
Sean.
And Miami's been disrespected all season. No respect for them.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, that's all right.
I agree with you. I looked at that line with Drake, and it scared the hell out of me. But again, I'm going to go back to this. Some of these teams are going to have a difficult time in the first round, either being upset. Or just being taken down to the wire. And if they get beyond that game, we've seen this time and time again. How many times, Jesse, have we seen teams in the first round barely get by? And we say, well, they're overrated. They're not going anywhere. They're a second round exit waiting to happen. And then they end up making a deep run because they get better as the tournament progresses. Your thoughts, Jesse?
I think you can't go wrong taking a Big 12 team for your sleeper or your upset picks. I don't think the Big 12 teams are getting enough respect from the bookmakers. I mean, aside from Kansas, and when you look at it, Kansas didn't really own the Big 12 this year like they normally do. It was quite competitive. I mean, and Texas being the hottest team coming out of the Big 12, I mean, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. And I also like Miami, regular season champs in the ACC, won a lot of big games all year long. I know they lost to Duke. I had Miami in that game, so I was a little bit surprised. They did lose a key starter in the first minute of the game against Duke, and he's questionable heading into the tournament, so that's of concern. But I like Miami as a team. I think they're very underrated at this point in the year. So I like all your picks, Ross.
Jim Larrañaga is the head coach at Miami, and for those of you who don't remember, he took a team called George Mason to the Final Four back in, I want to say 2005-ish, somewhere in that area. And also Jim Larrañaga took Miami to the Elite Eight one time. So very underrated head coach. And not the most, people think Miami it's really easy to recruit there. Well, it hasn't been for basketball. They don't draw well. And that's really disappointing. And they don't draw well in football. Anyway, in any event, let's go over each individual handicapper and what they had. Let's start with you, Doug.
Okay, one thing I want to just say before I do, I'll
Sure.
make this real quick, is that, and if we have time just to comment on it, I think one of the biggest things that's changed in this tournament, and it started, I'd say, roughly a decade ago, is that with the proliferation of underdogs in the first round doing well, that the odds makers have flipped, and because they get so much action now on the underdogs, especially the 11s, 12s, and 13 seeds, that they have gone overboard to where they actually want you to take these short dogs. Okay. And I think it's completely changed the dynamic, how to look at these higher seeds than what it used to be. Okay. So anybody comment on that afterwards? Okay. Upset special, VCU over St. Mary's. Final four team, Gonzaga, sleeper, Connecticut Huskies out of the West.
There you go. Higgsy.
My upset will be Furman over Virginia. Sleeper, although it is a 3 seed, it's not as deep as Doug's UConn, but I'm going to go Baylor there, plus 650 to come out of the South. Again, out of a tough conference. And I'm going to go chalk with Bama. They've had a lot of things going on, but they seem kind of focused. Maybe they just departmentalize on themselves and put that other stuff outside and just concentrate on basketball.
Jesse the Mule Shule.
Okay, I got K-State winning the East region. My sleeper is Memphis. My upset pick is the Charleston Cougars. And to touch on what Doug said, I wanted to say something similar. Every time I talk to novice bettors about the NCAA tournament, or even fellow pros, everybody says, oh, upsets, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be all these upsets. And yeah, there's going to be some upsets in the first round and maybe the second round. And yes, St. Peter's went to the Sweet 16 last year, but think about who the other 15 teams were. Think about Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Villanova in the Final Four. I mean, look at the national champions I looked at it this morning to see when the last time like a nobody team won the national championship. I went as far back as 1966, Texas Western.
Yeah.
Apparently the first team with an all-black lineup.
Don Haskins.
Back in the early 60s, before, when racism was still a massive issue and they didn't have as many African-American players. So that's how far you got to go back before you see one of these really small schools actually winning a national championship. So as Doug said, caution to the wind. You don't want to fall in love with too many dogs. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Especially to run them late. You get a lot of, it's always adds up to those 1-1 and a 2 seed. It's not shocking. We don't see many double digits in the Final Four seeding wise.
I will say this, Drake, who Sean mentioned, extremely good team out of the Missouri Valley. And yeah, that line scares me. Like I said, I used Miami as my sleeper pick in the Midwest to get out of the Midwest and go to the Final Four. But that first round game, I know this sounds crazy. That first round game against Drake scares me more than any other game if they get by. So we'll see. Also, I just mentioned Miami is my sleeper pick. I also picked Texas to win the Midwest. And my upset alert was on Kent State to knock off Indiana in round one. Let's go to each individual handicapper. Guys, we're getting short on time here, but I want to give you your the time to tell people where they could find you, what you may have coming up, what you may have up already. Let's start with Doug.
All right, here we go. Doc Sports is where you'll find Doug Upstone. That's me. And on a nice run, 26-15 of late in college basketball the last 12 days. So I've had some good action going away. Didn't hit all of my big plays, but you know what? You're not going to hit them all, especially this time of year. That's why they call it March Madness for a reason. So I'm ready to go, though. Going to have a lot of big action. We don't release the plays till the day of the game. So as opposed to these other three gentlemen, they have the ability to release the plays whenever they want to. But Docs, that's just how they do it. And it's worked for them for almost 52 years. So I'm not going to complain about that.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. All right, Mr. Higgs, we got a couple minutes left, which
I'll be quick.
Which means we got about 8 minutes left because I just, the shot clock's on, my friend. That's all.
So yeah, Tuesday to Friday, we're talking about games up. I got 33 games up between the NIT and NCAA. So you go check that out. And my midday money show live. Actually, there's late night money, or as Jesse's called midnight money, for him, or it's midday for him. It's midnight for me. But you can find that 7 days a week on your favorite podcast channel. And I got a nice special in there for $31.20 a week of plays. You'll get all 33 of these games for $31. You can't beat it.
Wow.
So head to the winner free picks page for that.
Man, that guy must be making a lot of money, Jesse, to give away that many games for that amount of money. Anyway, what do you got, my friend?
He's making me feel bad for charging $99 for the rest of the year with college basketball. But I will say, last year in the NCAA tournament, I was 20-8 overall. That's 71%. I went a perfect 8-0 in the first round, and I actually got in trouble for bragging about it at one of the sites that Sean and I are on together. I was bragging about going 9-1 with NBA playoffs to start the playoffs, and 8-0 in the first round of the college basketball. And I was bragging about that heading into football season, suggesting that I'd get off to a good start. I got in trouble, but you guys remember how I started the football season?
Very good.
10-0.
I thought you were 11-0.
Yeah. So, I didn't get in much trouble after that. But anyways, you can see me at Jesse Schewel on Twitter and visit my website, jesseschewel.com.
You got a YouTube page too now, Jesse.
And on YouTube, Jesse Schewel Picks.
And you could also Doug Upstone every day at Doc Sports. Monday through, what is it, Doug? Tuesday through Sunday you doing?
Tuesday through Sunday right now. That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, like Sean said, his midday money show, which he does very well with. A lot of audience participation there. Check that out as well. He's on all the major streaming sites. I got some great news. I got a call yesterday for the second year in a row, and I'm going to be on Thursday morning here on my local ABC and Fox affiliate on real television. I'm going to be on this. So we're going to be doing an NCAA tournament special. I'll get about 30 minutes of airtime. As I get the exact details, I will convey that to you, the audience. And also I'll have all 4 of my segments will be sent to me, and I'll have that up on our YouTube channel as well. But you can find me at rbwins.com. That's rbwins.com. And folks, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back, all of us, at some point this week, discussing more NCAA tournament basketball action. Until then, take care and God bless.